Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the soundbites. And joining me in studio today, a repeat guest, Gary Freimeyer, who is the president of the USS Vermont Support Group.
Outstanding.
Welcome. I got it right. Excellent. Good for me. I'm on the support group with Gary, and I just love the work that they do and that you do. It's just amazing, and I'm sure that all the sailors on the USS Vermont love to see you and all the work that you do.
And thank you very much for stepping up to be our new secretary.
Oh, well, wait till they read the first minutes and we'll see how long that job lasts. But anyway, thank you. It's fun. It actually helps me because sometimes when I'm writing it down, I actually remember. But sometimes in the meetings, I sort of leave and, right over the head. So making me write it is a good thing. We've talked, Gary's been on the show quite a bit, and we've talked about the USS Vermont, which is a nuclear submarine. What class? The Virginia class. And I thought today we could kind of catch up on what's been happening, what's been going. And I wanted to spend a little time right off the bat talking about a Vermont treasure who is part of our group, and it's Al Perry. I knew Al when he was a representative. We sat very near each other, and that guy is a piece of work. He's just fabulous.
Not just him, but his entire family.
Oh, that's true too. Yes, his wife is adorable. They're a great family. But anyway, could you tell us about Al Perry and how lucky we are to have him be part of this group?
February 2nd marked his 90th birthday, which is amazing in and of itself.
Right.
But Al was part of the original group of people that were at the naming ceremony in 2014 at the Lake Champlain Navy Memorial, when the Secretary of the Navy at that point in time unveiled the new nuclear sub USS Vermont. Wow. And Al's been with us ever since. He was at the christening, at the commissioning ceremony. He actually sat up on the days and was responsible for delivering the long glass to the boat, which is a tradition. But he remains a critical part of what it is we do, and always the guiding hand to what the USS Vermont Support Group is doing.
Now, do you remember the amount of years, I got it wrong one day, that he, his son, his daughter have spent in the Navy and served our country?
For the life of me, I just can't remember it, but I believe the last time I heard it was something like 160 years in the family.
Yeah, something. I think you're right, actually, 160. I had said 120. I remember that because I got, like bungs on the head, like, no, more than that. Can you imagine? His daughter is now in the training.
His granddaughter is at the academy.
That's right, granddaughter, right. And his son, he's the head of, maybe you should say it because I'm going to muck it up.
Well, he's got two sons that are rear admirals, that were rear admirals. The youngest one, the baby of the family, Douglas, is now a vice admiral, responsible for the Norfolk Naval Station, which is the largest naval facility in the country, the Atlantic Ocean, and the NATO Maritime Alliance. Right. So it's an incredible breadth of responsibility for a guy like that.
And his office is sort of on the ships. He doesn't have an office in any port. It's on the ship.
That's why they call it the flagship.
Oh, there you go. It's just amazing. And he's so bright and he's so smart. I love serving with him. He has a wicked sense of humor. And
just to keep the balance, though, he's got a daughter who is an 8-time NCAA field hockey champion.
Oh, get out.
She's the coach at Middlebury. And
I knew that.
Yeah, they've had 8 NCAA championships.
Wow.
So every one of his kids is extraordinary in some way.
Well, they've got some role models there to live by, that's for sure.
That's true. They've got great parents.
Mom and Dad are awesome. I just love her. I don't see her that often, but honest, every time I see her, she knows what I'm up to. She just doesn't miss a trick, neither does Al. That's great. So anyway, let us back up a little bit and talk about the VSG, and I was going to do some of the alphabets because we have the VSG and the FRG, and I think we're going to talk about them during the hour. You should tell us what they are.
That's fair. Well, the VSG, USS Vermont Support Group, is It's an all-volunteer 501c3 organization of individuals, associations, and businesses dedicated to providing support for the USS Vermont crew and families for the life of the boat, which is expected to be around 30 to 35 years.
Wow, that's great.
And the FRG is it's an organization made up of the wives and families of the sailors, of the active sailors of the USS Vermont. It's kind of a mutual support organization, but they kind of keep the morale up when the guys are gone, particularly. And then if there are new members having babies, if there are somebody that's ill, there's meal trains, there's all sorts of things that they do just to keep the spirits high.
That's great. Well, I'm sure they need that, and some of them follow their husbands or better halves to different deployments, correct? Because there's a lot over in Hawaii, which is where the boat is now.
That's true.
I would go there myself, personally. Even if I didn't have anybody on the ship, because you've been there a couple of times, right?
Well, I'll be back on April 17th,
Yeah.
which is when the change of command ceremony will happen. So we'll have our 4th commanding officer. Looking forward to that.
I just met one. They actually change over pretty quickly. I'm thinking it hasn't been that long.
Around 2 years is
then
a
they
stretch.
change.
We had Henry Ronke, who was building the boat. Captain Phillips was the one that commissioned it, and Mike Wildeberg was the one that picked up from him in Groton and took the boat over to Pearl Harbor.
Right.
And the incoming gentleman is from northwest New York. His name is Matt Lewis. So he's going to take responsibility for manning the boat on April 17th.
Wow. Well, that's quite an assignment over in Hawaii. I know when we talked to them at the ceremony they had in Groton, I think some of them were a little worried about, I don't know, what's happening around that area with perhaps Russia or China and a few other worrisome things, and they were wondering what they were going to be facing.
They probably had a pretty good idea of it, but frankly, the Navy wants to have some of the sharpest knives in the drawer over in the Pacific Ocean, and certainly the USS Vermont was one of them.
Yep. Well, they've won so many awards. I was thinking ahead of my notes that the award list is like, could fill this wall.
Yep, they've continually performed in a very admirable way that brings great honor to their namesake state.
Yep, that's great. Anyway, so this all started at least. They were deployed back in, I'm trying to remember when I joined the group. Back in 2020, they went to Brazil, and they had a few interesting things happen there with the little maple syrup. Could you talk to folks about that? I thought that was cool.
Well, they called that a mini deployment because it wasn't that long, but they went 5,000 miles down to Brazil, and they actually did some exercises with the Brazilian Navy and their new nuclear submarine called the Tupi.
And that doesn't happen very often. Are we the only ones that did that? I heard.
We were the first, and we were the first nuclear submarine to go to the port just outside of Rio de Janeiro.
Great.
But when the president of Brazil, President Bolsonaro, visited and did a tour of the boat, along with Ambassador Todd Chapman, they both received from Captain Phillips maple leaf glass decanters of maple syrup that we got from Burr Morse here in Montpelier.
Yeah, thank God for Burr Morse. He's done a lot for us, haven't they?
Yes,
we've got quite a few Vermont companies that all you have to do is ask, and they're right there. So I think the second, which was a more formal deployment, was the ship departed with Champies on the sail. And I read a lot. There's some stories about Champies and a few other stories that go along with that. Could you talk to us about that first deployment and how Champy got to ride along?
Well, I think initially the icons of Champ is one of the two things that the boat is most tightly wound with. It's Champ, the Lake Champlain Sea Monster. They all have shoulder patches with a Champy on it. And they also love their maple syrup, so the boat's nickname is Big Sugar. But what they did is we provided a number they call them Champies. Vermont Teddy Bear calls them fluffy fantasy dinosaurs.
Oh, I like Champies better. Sorry.
They look a lot like it's like Lake Champlain Sea Monster Champ. But so we send them. Each new crew member baby gets a Champy.
Great.
And at one point in time, some of the wives of the FRG said, "So I have to have a baby to get a Champy." So we had to send a few more over there to make sure everybody had something to hug while their sailors were gone.
That's cool.
But,
that makes sense.
Well, and on the deployment, we got some really great pictures of as the boat was leaving Pearl Harbor. Up on top of the sail, the commanding officer was up there, and Champy was up there with him. and it looks like in the picture like he's addressing Champy.
Oh, how cool.
And we got several other pictures early in the deployment of Champy being up on the sail and the sailors holding him and taking turns with that. So
That's great.
That's pretty good, and it's good press for Vermont Teddy Bear.
Well, and we really should do a shout out for Vermont Teddy Bear because they're another one of those companies you don't have to ask twice.
They've been with us since 2020.
Have they really? That's great. Bill Schuldeis is stepping down. He's going to become our treasurer. Do you know that?
No, I
Now,
didn't.
You heard it here, folks.
Well, I knew
Yeah.
that he sold the business to
Yeah.
Vermont Teddy Bear.
Yeah.
And we're working, to Vermont Flannel.
Oh,
So we're now working with Vermont Flannel to
Excellent.
see if we can get something from them, like Vermont Teddy Bear, for the boat.
terrific. Who's the gentleman? Do you remember who you worked? Because I worked with him at the, you're working with the owner? My God.
No, there's
Oh.
4 or 5 women, the people in the
Oh,
brand
okay.
marketing department. and
Because
that
the
sort of
owner,
thing.
he and I worked together at Merchants Bank before all this
okay.
started. Before he went to the airport, Burlington Airport, he worked there. And I think I could remember his name. No. So you had said somebody had written to me and said to explain what the port calls are, and why. You said explain about port calls where they.
Okay.
I know they went to Yokosuka. Did I say it totally wrong? What is it? She's
Well,
laughing.
let me just say, port calls, though, what they're really all about
Right.
is anytime the boat's gone for any extended period of time, they have to either use one of the U.S. ports or one of our allies' ports. And it's just all about replenishing supplies and giving the sailors a little bit of downtime.
Oh, right.
And it's also an opportunity for them to interact with their allies and, kind of build a military relationship, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But for this deployment, now we can't know where they are at any given point in time. And they really don't like to be known when they pull into a port. But it turns out the foreign media covers it very, very well.
Ah.
So for this deployment, we know that they were in Busan, South Korea.
Yep.
And they were in both Yokosuka and Sasiba in Japan.
I wasn't even close.
And
Nice.
just recently, most recently, they were in Guam as well.
Oh, nice. Cool. That's the port of call, right?
We do have some
Get me
pretty
off
neat
the ship.
pictures from each location.
I bet. What an experience for them, though. Because what I found interesting is you told me early on that every sailor has to volunteer to be a submariner because not everybody's cut out for that. I would not be one of those. But everyone on that ship or boat? Boat. Everyone on the boat volunteered, and then they have to be obviously accepted for their background and expertise and stuff. But I think that's pretty neat that they're there and they want to be there.
There's a lot of screening that goes in, and
I bet.
that only makes sense. But yeah, it is all volunteer, and frankly, to a person, they're awfully high character people. They're amazing when you think about a bunch of 22-year-old guys running a $3 billion submarine and doing it fabulously well. So it's a lot to be proud of for those guys.
Well, you must have gone on the ship when it was in Groton, did you? See, I couldn't deal with the ladder. I went to see the ship, and then they showed me how I was going to get down the ladder, and nope. But you got to see the actual where it all happens, the operation room.
Yeah. During COVID, I
Mm-hmm.
was allowed to walk with the captain on the top of it, back and forth. That was all I could do.
Yeah.
And when their HP Con rating, when their health profile rating allowed, then we were go down inside and get a tour. And it's an amazing thing to see. And what's fun is when you do it with an older submariner, they're looking at everything around them, and they say, the only thing we recognize is the bubble, which is a piece of glass that has water in it, and whenever the boat changes its attitude, it moves in the bubble.
Like a leveler.
Yeah, that's the only thing that they recognize. The other one was the low-grade toilet paper, but that's
Too much
that's
information.
something sailors would notice.
Right. That's great. For those of you who have not, when you get near this submarine, if you want to feel very tiny and insignificant, just stand there. It is huge. It's huge. Do you know any about the size of this thing?
When I first with my son went to the christening and walked around the corner and saw it up on a set of trestles in a manufacturing site, I'm looking at it. It's 377 feet long.
Wow.
34 feet wide. It displaces 7,280 tons of water.
Oh,
when
now
it
that's
gets
a
in
great
there.
statistic. That's great.
It's incredible. And to think that it's sitting there on these little tractor things that move it around is just amazing.
Amazing. Just remembering when Darren Perrin went to the ship the first time, they used cardboard. They covered up all of the equipment in the operations room, and you got to see it, because I guess once it's commissioned, then you could see it. I don't know what the trigger was.
Well, it's there's a lot of things on the boat that are top secret.
Right.
But, and I'll tell you, we had the opportunity, Wayne Pickett, our vice president, and I had
Right.
the opportunity to get on the USS Vermont when it pulled into the port in Pearl Harbor.
Right.
So we expected they were going to put us in, in the cruise mess or someplace like that where we could do the least amount of damage. But they took us right up to the control room, so we had an opportunity to watch the boat coming in,
wow.
watch how they were driving it, the people up on the sail giving directions to the navigator, and it was very impressive. But the thing that struck me was, when I glanced around, there's a lot of displays all around, and one of them in the upper right-hand corner said "Top Secret." So it made
You will die.
made a very important effort not to look again at that, so I could be invited back at some point.
There you go. And there are no periscopes, are there? Remember
Nope.
when you see the old war pictures, the up scope, but
That's
there's
what
not,
that's what
right?
everybody thinks about when they think about
Yeah.
submarines. Now it's called a photonic mast, and the significant thing about that is the entire construct of the mast is in the sail above the pressure hull, so you no longer have anything penetrating down into where the sailors are.
Oh.
But it's kind of like your old car antenna when you press a button and it goes up like
Right.
this. And it's got a variety. It's got it does burst traffic to satellites for communications. It's got all sorts of different types of lenses up there to see in the dark and through, all that kind of cool stuff.
That's great.
Technology
I
moves
really
ahead.
wish I had the nerve to do it, maybe one of these days. It was just a straight down ladder. There was no pitch, you
Right.
can't make a mistake either.
It's a very different situation than any ladder you're normally on going like
Right.
that. The vertical ones are very difficult.
Yeah, I think, I can't do it. Maybe as I get older and I don't care anymore, I'll just try it. Because I would love to see that, because every room is named after something in Vermont, correct? They've got a lot, we've sent pictures down there of covered bridges.
Yeah, we've got all the berthing areas
Yeah.
are named after Vermont ski resorts.
Great.
And there's a couple cute stories about that, about Sugarbush, but we'll skip that for
Skip
now.
it, we're on TV.
But yeah, it was interesting. The guys asked for, they have a number of cabinets in the cruise mess, which is called the Catamount Tavern.
Ah, there you go.
And the cabinets said, we need some posters for the cabinets. I said, that's great. Tell us about what's the form factor? And they said they're 8 inches tall and 24 inches wide. What kind of poster fits
Right.
it?
Right,
Covered bridges.
there you go.
And I thought they'd want to see things like ice climbing, extreme snowboarding, all that kind of adrenaline stuff. But these guys, they're chill. They just were perfectly happy with covered bridges.
Well, they're cool.
They certainly are.
Cool.
And they are very Vermont.
Yes, they are. They're very Vermont, for sure. Try riding a motorcycle through them. Have you ever seen the bottom of them? It's lifted, and then they've got the wagon wheel tracks on the side, which are lower. So if you're on a motorcycle, you pick a lane, and you have to stay there, because if you go this way or this way, you'll go down. So it's sort of like,
We have a video of our former XO, Josh Ludwig, going through 2 covered bridges on his bike.
oh, no kidding. Oh, I'd love to see that. How great. Yeah, it's a little unnerving. They make you get off your bike and look at it first before you go in. So Gary puts together, you are going to still do that, aren't you? The newsletter?
It remains to be seen.
Oh, my word. Don't look at me. This newsletter is fabulous. It's got amazing pictures, and it brings us up to date on exactly what's happening. And if people want to sign up for the newsletter, Gary, where can they go?
They could just send an email to ussvtvsg@gmail.com.
All right, cool.
And it kind of just brings you on board as a member of the VSG. And basically what that means is you'll get your quarterly newsletter and an opportunity to hear some of the things that we're doing, join our meetings, participate in any way, shape, or form you'd like to.
That is great. Because I'd love to, I was just reading it the other night and would just love to talk about some of the things, because I bet they must love getting it, families and just people here in Vermont who, names I know of people that they just love this boat and everybody on it.
Well, we do get some rewarding feedback from time to time. People are thankful for us trying to share as much as we can about the boat. And actually one that was particularly meaningful was there are some Australian sailors on our boat.
Right.
And,
Oh, talk about that. That was great.
Well, one of the wives of the Australian sailors sent me a note thanking us for all that VSG does in support of the families, and each one of her 3 kids sent me a little ceramic thing, a little pen, and just little things like that.
Oh, how sweet.
And when I was after I got that, the very next FRG meeting, I was wearing that on my chest.
Oh.
And they were there, and the kids were there, and they were all excited to see
Oh, I
it.
bet. Oh, what a nice thing to do. I bet they loved it. Tell about the Australians and the dolphins.
Okay.
Because that is a great story.
Well, there's a couple of different tendrils to that. If you're not familiar with AUKUS, it is a trilateral partnership between Australia, UK, and the United States to allow Australia to not only have and maintain nuclear submarines, but starting to build their own. So interestingly, Gloria Valdez, our sponsor, was part of AUKUS early on, trying to help them prepare for Virginia-class subs. And recently, she just kind of re-engaged, so she's doing that as well. But the neat thing is, on this deployment, we've had at least 3 Royal Australian Navy officers on the boat. And when you're on a submarine, when you learn your job and enough other jobs to be able to handle yourself on the boat, you earn your dolphins. And the very first Royal Australian Navy officer who went through the submarine officer's basic course to get on the boat and learned everything about the nuclear sub that he needed to learn, he got his dolphins in Yokosuka while he was assigned to the USS Vermont.
Excellent. First time ever, right?
That's the very first time that's happened. It's going to be a heck of a lot more of them in the future. As I believe there's over 100 Australians in our pipeline through nuclear training.
I read the article, and that was quite the article too. It was just a first for everybody.
Yep,
that's really great.
Not the only first for Vermont, but just the next one.
Oh, that's a great way to put things. That's great. Now, we had some notes here about when you were thinking they might return, because you just said you don't know really where they are at any given time. So they make this boat come alive, and they ran through the guests up the plank, stood along on the boat itself, stood in the formation while the F-35s were flying overhead. The Army band, Vermont Army band, was
40th
playing,
Army band, yep.
And we had the cannons.
Oh, yeah.
I was crying like I couldn't even stop. I was so just emotional about the whole thing. And Ben's like, whoa.
I mean, it's really a
she
great
do?
ceremony.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
Effectively, what the sponsor does theoretically is brings the boat to life.
Yeah.
And that's a major event in any ship's
Well, and
history.
Gloria is just so perfect for all of us. She's just an amazing woman.
Well, normally a ship sponsor would be somebody who is a politician's wife or something like that, always a woman. But our sponsor, Gloria Valdez, was the Assistant Deputy Secretary of the Navy in charge of shipbuilding and modernization.
There's a title.
So it's a rare thing to have your sponsor know as much about the boat as the sailors do.
Yeah.
So.
And she participates in just about everything she can.
I'm sure we'll see her at the change of command in April.
You will, yeah, she'll be here. She sent me a note when I sent out the minutes, my first minutes. She sent me a note back. Did I tell you that?
No.
I have to share it with you. It was just so great. She said thank you because I told them this was my first time, and it's been a while since I've done minutes. So, anyway, let's just go over some of the things that were in the newsletter, and I really would encourage you to sign up because it's just pages and pages of the most beautiful pictures. And the stories are stories. The reports are just fabulous. Anyway, you were talking about the VSG. We donated money to the FRG in support of their good work, which comes from we get funds from the state.
Yep, that's part of it.
And also from donations from people.
Correct.
And
our own fundraising.
And their own fundraising. Yep. And so we're very fortunate, I think, when we do our financials. We're in good shape. There's a lot of people that support us and
That's true.
and the ship and the
it's greatly appreciated by the crew and the families.
Yeah,
so
for sure, because it
makes
really
a big difference.
It does, doesn't it? It's just amazing. And you also had you did a paint and sip party for Halloween.
Well, these are the types of things the FRG does to maintain the community. Again, they get together with some kind of event multiple times each month.
Yep, it's great.
Because invariably, when the guys are deployed, that's when Murphy strikes. And they
I
need to
bet.
know that they've got other families that experience the same thing and have their backs. And
Well, they
it's a-
must support each other like 24/7.
It's
Yeah.
very impressive what they
Yeah.
do.
That's fun, and they said even the kids took place in it. I thought that was great. I've been to 2 paint and sip parties in this area, in Barry. Oh, just sign me up. That is so much fun. After a while, you don't really care. But it always comes out okay. It's pretty cool. And they hosted a party at a trampoline park for the kids. And then, oh, this one I didn't. Signature event in mid-November celebrating the deployment milestone for wives and significant others. What would that be? A halfway through sort of thing? or?
Well, you know, if we were to do a halfway cruise after talking about the date that they left, and somebody could probably get clever with math.
That is true. So why did we say that?
Well, I think we're called it a deployment milestone. But anyhow, what that turned out to be.
Yes, forget what I just said. They'll have to take your name.
What that turned out to be was a cruise. And so many of their events are family-oriented, but this one for halfway night was basically the wives and the girlfriends. And
That's nice.
so they went on a cruise. And interestingly, there was drinks on the cruise, and the bartender created a green drink in honor of, they called it Champy.
Oh.
So they had a Vermont green drink for the girl, some sort of a cocktail. I don't know how it was made, but
How cool.
But yeah,
That's
they
great.
always are true to their namesake.
That's great. And of course, they celebrated Christmas with Christmas ornaments. Gobble till we wobble, that's Thanksgiving, right?
Yep.
And they had a pancake with Santa in conjunction, with the USS North Carolina and the USS Charlotte. So there are other boats there.
Oh yeah, I think there's about 7 or 8 Virginia-class boats in Pearl Harbor right now in Squadron 1.
Okay.
But what was really neat about Pancakes with Santa is that's become an annual tradition. And they reach out, and we reached out to Butternut Mountain Farm, and we picked up 192 maple syrup nips.
Oh,
So we sent those over so that when they had the Pancakes with Santa Day, everybody got a maple syrup nip that had pancakes. So
how wonderful.
And there are some incredible pictures too, because not only did the families all line up, there's a picture of Santa holding a maple syrup nip giving the Hawaiian salute. There's another picture of all the ladies holding up a nip all around Santa. That's just a beautiful picture.
Oh, neat.
And then they decided to have some fun, and then it looks like the next picture, every one of them was sitting there with a funny look on their face.
Drinking the nip.
But you know, just again, the spirit of being together and the things that they do,
That's
it's just great to see.
How
Very
nice.
rewarding.
It must be very hard to pick up and move somewhere, and especially if you have kids. You know, they leave their friends behind, and I guess as a mom and dad, you're expected to kind of pick up the slack a little bit, and that must be very hard to do that more than once.
Well, think about doing that during COVID.
Oh, right.
the sailors
Oh,
out.
my God, what a nightmare.
Yeah, those were some very tough times, and that's when we really built the best relationship with the FRG.
Wow.
Because we were, you know, when the boat was in Groton during COVID, we weren't that far away.
Right.
So if it hit the fan, you know, we could either make something happen or actually go down there and do something to help. So it was a great opportunity to get started with those folks, and I think we're on our 5th FRG board right now,
That's
and
great.
each one has been outstanding.
That's right. I read about the USS Vermont ombudsman. Could you, and her name is Cody Brown,
Yep.
and she's stepping down, but what does that's a tough word for me to say.
Ombudsman.
Ombudsman. What does she
basically
do?
that role is that is the formal contract between the ship and the crew and the FRG. So when it comes time to, when we're getting news about things, let's just say you have a death in the family or somebody's sick, they notify the ombudsman, ombudsman. Now you got me doing
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry.
But they have a direct channel into the boat, so they can reach the sailors at any point in time that they
Right,
need
for
to.
emergencies.
So they're the funnel of all the communications back and
wow.
forth. Plus, they help the families out. They explain all the support options that are around a place like Pearl Harbor. So it's a very critical job, and it's
I
a high
bet.
character person to do that, and Cody's just done a fabulous job.
That's great. Well, it's probably a big responsibility, too.
Indeed.
I mean, and you're delivering messages perhaps that might be a little difficult for somebody to hear. And
Not an easy job.
No, for sure. So, but she was with the FRG, is that?
Yeah, well, she
where
was
she
she
came
was an
from,
FRG member,
the FRG.
but then that's a position that the boat interviews for,
Right.
and they have to approve it. So.
Right. Anyway, I was going to talk about Gloria, but we've sort of done that. She is, as Gary said, has got the history that fits this role perfectly, and she's very kind and very nice, and she just thanked me for the minutes and said what a great, it's just great to receive them, so they know what we're up to. But and I also wanted to talk about, I sort of started this, the Wreaths Across America. Is something that this support group has gotten really behind. It's the second year now that we gave funding from two of our members stepped up and gave a lot of money, quite
Indeed.
a bit of money. I mean, I buy the three wreaths every year, and I think Wayne did that as well, but these two really stepped up and did it on behalf of the USS Vermont support.
Yeah, but you're the one that brought it up.
Well, I did.
At a
I
meeting.
just
You
think
kind
it's...
of talked about it, and
Yeah.
folks liked the way it sounded, and we had a couple members that are in a position to be able to donate a significant amount,
Yeah.
each one of them.
Yep.
And Wayne kicked it in to make sure that we'd have the right number of wreaths.
Right, because there was a matching, buy one, get one free or something.
But yeah, they've done that for 2 years now.
Yeah,
and
and just so people know, it's an event that happens nationally, but it's meant to put a wreath on every veteran's gravesite, and it's a beautiful thing. I just think it's, and once or twice they've been a little short, and last year and this year they were not short. They
Nope.
had they met their goal, and I've gotten them on this show and on the radio as well, because I just think that's so important.
It's a shout out to Jim Powers and Peter Hood, the two
Yes,
folks
right.
that do the
Yeah.
donations, and they're greatly appreciated. And,
Yeah.
and Bob Burke is a member of our team. He's the Director of Veterans Affairs in
Yep.
the state, and he kind of coordinates where those wreaths go.
Yep.
And he was pleased this year to, I think, every veteran's grave had a wreath.
Yeah, it was a great 2 years, and they've done it more than not, but every once in a while. I think it was during COVID that that was a bad year, but it's something that should happen every year without even thinking about it. I just just love that. That's a great project. And so somebody said we should talk about, and maybe we have the maple nip story you just told, and the Champy story. I think we did cover that, didn't we? That flag is amazing. Oh, Gary, talk about the leis.
Oh.
I have mine at home, and I bought one for Ben, and I should have worn it. I wore it out one time. At night, I just did. I put it on.
Well, I mean, and
it's great looking.
It sits on the walls of a couple of family members of mine place as well. But
There you go.
so basically, in the arrival ceremony, which is a significant thing when Vermont first arrived in Pearl Harbor, the arrival ceremony included Hawaiian dancers. It was a barbecue on the pier. We had donations from 3 or 4 different Vermonters. We knew there was going to be a barbecue, so we had hot mustards and maple ketchups and barbecue sauce and things like that to put on the barbecue things. But we also had the opportunity to work with the Navy League in Honolulu, who has an agreement with a vendor called Leis by Ron. So we said we'd like to get a bunch of we'd like to get 150 green flower leis, and they said, well, we don't have that many, and okay, and we have these kukui nuts with little green shells, and we said, well, you know what? A lei's going to die in a week maybe?
Right.
And the kukui nut leis
They'll
would last forever.
Right.
So we went with them. So each sailor that left the boat, a Hawaiian dancer put a lei around their neck going through kind of an arc before they were able to meet their family.
Nice.
So they all got their. And what we've done since then is another 50 just now arrived on Honolulu for the new sailors. So the new sailors that are coming in, that's part of their welcome bags.
Nice.
So that's a tradition that we hope to
It's
continue.
it's beautiful. It's very attractive. And then the boat itself had a lei all around it, correct?
Yeah, and that was made by the FRG. But there's one of the traditions when a submarine gets home ported in Pearl Harbor. there's a lei created that's about 20 or 25 feet long.
Wow.
And they hang that over the sail, which is the top part of the submarine. They
Right.
hang that over when they're coming in.
Nice.
And it's, you know, obviously we have a lot of good shots of that, but it was green and white. But it's, we would have told them green and gold, but, you know.
State troopers, there you go.
But we had to, you know, we had to love the green, and it's just one more tradition, and
Great.
nothing's more important than maintaining traditions.
Right. Oh, thank you for that. I'm right with you on that one. I'm very big on tradition. I think it's important just for your background and for who you are. And
Well, just think about all the
Care-
traditions that were lost during the COVID years, and that just makes you,
I know,
treasure them
I
even
know,
more.
I know, that's true. Anyway, so I have a list here, and I don't know that I should even read them, of all of the awards that the USS Vermont crew has received, and it is eight typed lines long.
You want me to do it quickly?
You want to do it? You
I'll do
got
it quickly. Yeah, at the end of each year, a submarine squadron will have their annual awards ceremonies. And the most prestigious award is called the Battle Efficiency Award. And that's the first one that USS Vermont won this year. But they also, and what happens is they get flags with letters on them to be able to put on their pig sticks to show that they're award winners. So they also got an engineering readiness red E, an electronic warfare green E, a supply readiness blue E, personnel readiness white P, and that's a pretty significant haul
It's a lot of flags,
awards.
Gary.
Well, they go on the flag stick that was made by the folks over in Rutland.
Ah.
Remember that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
I'm embarrassed that I can't come up with the name.
It was the Tech Center, wasn't
Tech Center,
it?
yep, in Rutland.
Yeah.
But they did a fabulous job on a flag post,
That's great.
and the ship's bell post that goes on there as well. But they have a variety of little, they call them pig sticks.
Oh, nice.
Where
So
the
they
flags
can
hang
put all
from
the
on that.
flags. Great. Yep. And then let's see. Yeah, that was a lot. I don't know what some of them are, but we also went on. I'm trying to remember this. My memory's going. They went on some exercise a while back when they were first here. That was kind of a secret sort of out in the Pacific, obviously, and they did well at that too. Do you remember what that was about? Should
Well,
never ask a question you don't know the answer to.
Well, again, they were involved in a lot of things before they left in the Atlantic. Before they left our side of the world, they were involved with an awful lot of exercises.
Were they?
And they were doing things like working with surface and air assets.
Yeah, because I remember one of the stories was just amazing about all the things that they've done without, I can't tell you because I have to kill you. And we asked, when there are these things where you can hear updates from the commanders, the Cobb and the people, the folks who are in charge of running the operations. And Gary and we asked them one time about training. And we heard it was 6 or something hours a day.
Oh.
They went, no, it's something like 12 hours every day they train when they're not on assignment. They train constantly to be ready.
Well, it's particularly the younger guys, because they're working to get their dolphins. Before they can get their dolphins, they have to have a strong understanding of every function on the boat.
Yeah, so they can mix and match.
Right, and the upper class sailors work with them to help them, learn and understand.
Yeah.
But it's by the time they get their dolphins, they know pretty much everything they need to know to keep the sub up.
Did he tell us 12 hours, or am I? But it was something like the whole
Well,
day.
we initially thought we heard 6.
Yeah, right.
But that turns out that was the case back in Al Perry's day. Now they're kind of they're more along the lines of 8 hours on, 8 hours off, 8 hours training. Kind of thing.
It's just unbelievable. I can't even imagine thinking of what training to do every day, but that's what they do. It's probably a little repetitive, but it's good in the heat of battle that you just do it because you don't think about it, you just do it.
Well, the storyline is they have to know not only their job, but the job about the guy to the right and left of them, because should something happen, it's not like the cavalry comes in.
Yeah, right.
You're on your own. So this guy steps in and takes over that responsibility, and somebody steps in, and it's very impressive for these guys, and that's why they're such highly educated and high quality guys.
That's great. Well, and they are all, they're very, yes ma'am, no ma'am, I wasn't sure how to take that, but they were very respectful and Oh, you just
I
want
keep
to,
saying guys. Let me just point out that
There-
in last September, the USS New Jersey was commissioned, SSN 796, and that's the first fully integrated Virginia-class submarine. So
Right.
women and men both served
That's
side
great.
by side. It's been that way for the Ohio-class boats, the nuclear armed boats.
Ah.
They've been integrated for quite a while, but the fast attack boats like Vermont, it's brand
That's
new
great.
for them.
Coming soon to the USS Vermont, I wonder?
Well, we had
That'd be
two
interesting.
female junior officers on an exercise in the Atlantic way back when,
Ah.
and got some pictures of them standing with the rest of all the officers on the side of the boat, and it was interesting. You could tell which ones were the
Yeah,
were the women.
yeah, right.
But yeah, they did a fabulous
good for
job.
them.
I mean, it's a great opportunity for them. They can't advance their careers without that kind of experience. So being out there on an exercise does well for everybody.
That's great. Well, there's no reason why not. If they meet the criteria,
No question.
they can do it. Go do it. So tell us a little bit about the UVM men's number 9 home white jersey. That is cool. I want to participate in however we're giving that out.
Well, let me just give you the background. In the Catamount Tavern, where the crew takes their meals, under plexiglass on this table is a UVM men's basketball jersey from the years that they've repeatedly won their division,
Right.
and made it the NCAA tournament. And the next one, there's a Vermont Lakes Monsters jersey. And now, shortly, there's going to be a UVM soccer jersey, since they won the NCAA championship for the
going
first
to
time,
the
the first
vote.
major championship
Yep.
in college sports for UVM. But the person who kicked the winning goal, Maximilian
Kizzle.
yeah.
Kissel?
Yeah, Kissel.
Kissel.
He was number 9, and we have a jersey signed by
Oh, great.
the athletic director, Greg Schulman, and Coach Rob Dow,
Right.
and that will go under
Oh,
another
all right, that's good.
piece of plexiglass.
I don't need it, but that would be good to be on the boat. That's great.
Well, hopefully we'll have that shortly, but then it's just a matter of probably taking that over when we go over for the change of command ceremony.
That's great. Anyway, we should talk, we have only about 12 minutes left, and my pages keep going. Could you talk about the Sunshine Bag replenishment program?
Yeah,
Because that's
I
an
mean,
important thing.
right, it's one of the most important, again, traditions. When the boat was commissioned, everybody on the boat got a canvas bag. It said USS Vermont SSN 792 on one side and Freedom and Unity on the other side, and obviously the state motto. But all the things that we put in there, we continue to do today. It's just, again, a tradition. There's a pint of maple syrup from a different VMSMA county each year. Matter of fact, just last week, I was in Orleans County picking up
Nice.
this year's syrup donation. 3 different sugarers up there provided that. It was a beautiful drive up through Orleans County on a snowy day.
Nice.
But we also always have a Vermont Strong license plate. We'll have a pair of Darn Tough socks. They're, again, one of our better sponsors.
Right.
They've been with us since the beginning. We always have a Cabot gift certificate from Bob Burke's wife, Erica, is a retail executive with
Oh, I
Cabot.
didn't know that.
Connections are very useful.
Excellent.
But then we also go to our friends at the Vermont Specialty Foods Association for Tastes of Vermont.
Nice.
Now, granted, we stole that from what happens down in D.C. every year,
Too bad.
but it kind of fits.
What is that hot sauce they like? Isn't there some hot sauce?
there
Oh, my
is.
God.
There's one thing that they really love. It's Lyman's Specialties hot pepper jelly.
Ugh.
But sailors do seem to like hot stuff.
Yeah, I was surprised at that, just because I don't like it. But,
Well,
that's
you can
cool.
imagine going through the same rotation of meals week after week.
Yeah,
Something
this'll
that
spice
spices it up a little bit.
That's true.
Probably a nice change of pace.
Right. Well, I think that's great, and I bet they love it.
Well, yeah, again, and it takes a lot. We buy the bags, we send them over, we get all the donations. Sometimes we, for smaller mom and pop shops, we'll do wholesale because we don't want to hurt anybody that wants to step up and help us.
Exactly.
So anyhow, it's a combination.
All are
of-
welcome.
Yeah, and everybody's enthusiastic about it. When we reach out to the VSFA and say, okay, we know that a lot of the people we've dealt with before would be more than happy to donate again, but it's more important to us to extend the family, to broaden because everybody that donates has to get the story, has to get the backstory and understand. But and I'll tell you again, the Royal Australian Navy submariner's wife that said the kind thing
Right.
said, I was just so amazed at everything that was in that bag about Vermont. I didn't know anything about it, but now I feel like I've almost been there.
Wow, good for her.
So yeah, that's really what it's all about, just acclimating them to what Vermont is all about, and so that they know they're now honorary Vermonters and part of it.
You know, that reminded me, I think when you've done so much for the sailors when they were here, physically here in Vermont, baseball and picnics and stuff, and after they went back, one of the sailors brought his whole family back up here because he loved it so much. And I thought, wow, that says a lot.
Well,
you know, that he didn't want them to miss out.
That's happened multiple times.
Has it?
And and what we encouraged them to do when they were in Groton was say, if you're coming up, let me know.
I know, right.
And when the Cobb came up, we hooked him up with the folks at 14th Star for Vermont Maple Festival.
Oh, nice.
So he stopped in, and they treated him kingly.
I bet.
And we had another family that came up in Manchester area, and we found out a fine, neat little farm stand down there. We called them and said, hey, whatever they want,
Ah, perfect.
give them 50% off,
Right.
and send us the bill for the rest.
Nice.
But anytime any of the sailors came up, we tried to make it special for them,
Sure.
so they know how much we're appreciated.
Well, I just thought how cool they get home and they wanted their families to enjoy and see what they saw.
That's
That's
true.
great
That's
because
true.
it is a beautiful place to be.
And
That's
maybe if we're lucky, since right now recruiting is a challenge, and the storyline with the Navy is every sailor is a recruiter, we may be able to get a few guys up here
To come up for the 4th?
this year. Because after they get back from the deployment, they'll stand
Whenever
down for a
that
while.
is, otherwise we'll have to kill you.
But then we may have an opportunity to bring some guys up. And
Great, that would be awesome.
they're always very well received everywhere they go.
Oh,
too.
for sure. So I just talked to somebody the other day, I mentioned the USS Vermont, and he went on and on about the marching in the
the
parade,
parades.
and because he remembered, and he talked to one or two of them, and he was all excited about that. I
Well,
said,
traditionally, they always did it in Montpelier.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to do was, okay, well, that's great for Montpelier, but let's get them to different places. I think we did Poultney,
oh, yes, you did, Poultney, right.
and then,
remember that.
we were looking at if there's some good enclave down in Brattleboro.
Right.
We also took them down to Bennington.
Yep, that's
and
right.
they had an opportunity to see the War Memorial down there, and got some pictures, and Bennington donated them a Bennington battle flag.
Oh,
So
lovely.
it was, all these types
right.
of things that make memories for both sides.
Right.
And I'll tell you, on the way down to that particular visit, we stopped at Wilcox's Ice Cream. So not only did all the sailors get a chance to taste, I think we had about 12 or 14 of them up, but they all got
wow.
a chance to taste Wilcox
Nice.
ice cream. And then we picked up a couple cases to take to the Vermont Veterans Home down in
nice,
Bennington.
nice.
And the intent was to have a social between
Yep.
the sailors and the veterans.
Events. Oh, my.
But with COVID, we were only able to deliver the ice cream, and then we walked all the way around the building with the sailers waving at the
Oh,
guys
dear.
in the buildings. So,
Oh, well, that'd make you cry, but that
well,
was wonderful to
it's
do.
just a way to,
Yeah,
for
recognize.
them to express their thanks, and for
Right.
the veterans to know that they're not forgotten.
Oh, that's lovely, Gary. So we're going to close the show out, and I wanted to talk about a very important date, April 18th. Is that not correct? Which is the USS Vermont Day at the State House, and maybe you could talk about that and invite every viewer to come and join us.
Well, it's a great opportunity since that'll be the 5th anniversary of the ship's commissioning. But we'll have some displays. We won't be in the card room this year. We can't get that every year. So we'll probably be in the Capitol Food Court alleyway.
Right.
But we're going to have a display there. They're going to talk about the boat. We're going to have some of our members there. You'll be there. Hopefully Al will be there.
Oh, good.
We're also expecting Dick Bemis to be there. So
Oh,
we'll have a
nice.
video going to kind of tell them a little bit about the story. The most important thing that happens that day is the House concurrent resolution honoring the USS Vermont will be read on the House
Right,
floor.
right.
So we'll all
Very
be
nice.
there. Well, I won't be there because that's the same day that the change of commands happens in Pearl Harbor.
Oh, poor baby, you'll be in Pearl Harbor?
Everybody, you got to take
You
one
got
for
to
the
do what you got to do.
take one for the team.
Poor
But
baby.
yeah, it's a great opportunity to meet some of the folks, see,
Yeah, nice.
get the story, and just join in
Right.
with the fun.
That's right. Will Wayne be there at the State House? Who's
Wayne and
gonna
I will be
there?
together in Pearl Harbor.
Oh, you will? Oh, okay, so who takes the lead for the group?
You and Dick.
You mean- Excellent. You heard it here. You better show up. I'm going to need help. That is April 18th at 10 o'clock?
Well, it depends when.
What time they read it.
Whatever time the House decides
Yeah.
that they're going to
Well,
read the
being in that
resolution.
cafeteria hall isn't bad. That's where people
Yeah.
congregate. You get more people there anyway than in the cardroom.
And you're never that far away from where you need to be.
That
when you
is
need to be there.
That's true. That's true. It's great. So, Gary, thank you very much.
Always a
You
pleasure,
have done
Pat.
so much for the USS Vermont and made us feel like we're doing something very important, and thank you for that.
Indeed we are.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is Listening Beyond the Soundbites.